Welcome to Real Chat,
the podcast where we, Annie and Chad, discuss real shit
loosely related to the real estate industry.
Hi, Annie. Welcome to episode 19 of Real Chat with Andy and Chad. Super excited this week. I say that every week. Super excited this week. Super excited. Why am I super excited this week, Annie?
Because we have another rock star agent.
Another guest. Dawn Farley's in the house. Welcome to the podcast, Dawn.
Excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So tell us about yourself.
Oh, do we got how much time?
All the time you want.
The high hard hitters, right?
Yeah, I got a lot to talk now. Actually, new into real estate. Super excited to start this journey. It's been interesting to say the least, but corporate world for 30 years and decided let's go for a change.
Yeah, corporate burnout.
Oh.
Our marketing gals are starting a podcast called The Corporate Burnout. So watch them. You know, we shout out them all the time. It's going to be a good one because they're funny. But anyways.
Corporate burnout's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going with your story.
Yeah. So I came home one day and I have an amazing husband who just said, you need a change. What do you want to do? And I just thought, real estate. I love people. I love interacting with people. I love houses. I love just all the elements. And I felt like this would be a good fit. So a year ago, right about this time, I said, let's do it.
You still feel like it's a good fit?
I actually absolutely 100% know that I made the right choice.
Awesome. That's so exciting. I think that's unusual, I think, for new agents. Do you disagree? Like, I think a lot of new agents would not say that after a year. Most new agents wouldn't say that after a year that that they're happy they made the decision and it's a perfect fit. So that's exciting.
I believe my corporate experience made this journey a little bit of an easier transition. Right. Been in the field, been in the market, wore many hats in my journey in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. So I think that led me to know that this was going to take work and I wasn't afraid of the work. I think when you're a little bit younger, like back in my earlier days, this might be a little tougher journey. Yeah. It's still one that's worth it.
What was the biggest surprise? What's different from, what you thought being a realtor would be to what it is?
Oh, okay.
That's now we hit a nerve.
Yeah. Well, That's interesting because, you see all these people out there doing their thing and selling lots of houses and just shaking and grooving. And I feel like I'm pretty good with social media, but you realize really early on, you're not so good at social media. And it's really good to have a little help in that department. So I think for me, I'm very comfortable with being in front of people and talking to people, but I have found that, there's definitely a big learn in how to approach and not come off to quote unquote, I hate to use that word salesy, but it's true. I came from retail, so it was all about sales. And so just taking that salesy element out and just really connecting with the people on a relationship level, I think was the biggest thing.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot. It's not transactional. Retail is transactional.
Yes.
Well,
right?
and with retail, they're coming to you. So they're coming in the door to your location for a reason, and then you have to take care of them. Here, you actually have to go
get them to come through my door
to want your service. Right.
Yeah. So, but that's the part that kind of excites me. In the corporate world, I had the complete burnout, no passion, no joy, no yes. And so now waking up, coming into the office, I enjoy this journey. I enjoy, what's on my plate for today? What can I do differently to market myself, put myself out there in front of people? So.
And you come to the office every day.
Yes, I love it.
What is your schedule in your head? Tell me, what time do you get here? What time do you go home? It's not for me, but in general, what's your routine, right?
I usually arrive between 9 and 9:30. Do not want to get here after 9:30. And I try not to leave not at before 3. I just feel like that's a good solid day. I like the energy. I like the culture. that we create here, the vibe is amazing. I tried a brief moment thinking I could do this from home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Why not? What happened?
Squirrel, TV,
TV.
Laundry, dishes.
dishes.
I can't do it either.
I can't, too many distractions. And I think, oh, well, let me just do this one thing and then I'll go back. And then I never go back. And so I found for me, I was very unproductive at home. I know there's some people that thrive through working from home. I thrive with being in the office. I like the vibe. I like the culture that's here. It motivates me and it excites me.
Yeah. I was just curious because you do come in the office, and I do think that you have some traction. And it is hard to do it from home. I think that's a lot, especially when you're starting out. Now, if you're a 20-year veteran and you have your marketing systems down and you have, and it's on autopilot or whatever, then maybe it's a different story working from home. But as a new agent, I think it's wildly important to be able to go in and have that structure.
Well, and not only the structure, just being around the people that are actively doing the things with success, watching and learning and listening and just aspiring to be those people.
Yeah. Plugging in. No, it's true. I don't think we would have, when we first started out, been as successful if we hadn't had those couple people that would come into the office on a somewhat regular that we could talk to. And to your point, they were the successful ones at the time in the office that we were in. So
Yeah, I think that your coming into the office has given you such an edge over other maybe agents that don't have that ability, part-time, working other jobs or whatever. But like your learning curve seems to be shortened because you're in, like you said, and you're listening and picking up and asking questions. And
I think also I'm not afraid to come in and ask the questions. Like I feel like I put myself in the place of just how the office feels, that I feel comfortable to come in and connect with who all the agents here are so willing to help, which I think helps too.
yeah.
is there,
It's hard for those agents. It's hard for those agents that have the full-time jobs at night or whatever. But even that, I would challenge. Like, if I know you said you come in because of the vibe, and there's other people here, and there's not a ton of people here at night. However, we do have enough agents that if they all came into the office at night to work their 2 hours of real estate a day or whatever, there would be people here at night. And I think that would help those people that are working full-time. And because not everybody can take the leap that you took, obviously. You're very fortunate that you could take that leap or were able to.
Yes.
But it's hard for them, I think. But I think coming to the office is a big deal.
yeah.
Even if it's not the office, go somewhere
It's one thing, as
that's
an
not your
entrepreneur,
house.
Yeah. It's because when you worked your corporate job, you knew when to go in and you knew when to go home. And it was structured.
Very structured.
so
And I
now-
think I thrive in that environment. Give me a task, I'm going to go do it. Next.
Yeah. I think everybody does. Isn't that why they say kids have to have a routine? I mean, I think that's human nature. Humans thrive better when there's structure involved or routines involved. We naturally want that in our head. Those habit loops kick us into that, right? So
Yes.
if you can create that and get out in front of it, then that's helpful for sure.
So how about let's switch topics and tell us your greatest success so far.
Oh,
What are you most proud of that you've done?
sold some houses.
Right off the bat, you did.
I did. I came out very fortunate. Some of my transactions were through my children, but I think
I don't think it was fortunate. I think it was because you worked hard, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chad. But I think my can't speak. Biggest success so far is the one listing that I truly went out and got on my own, and I was very proud of that.
Tell us the story. Go.
So I was actually on my motorcycle, which I ride a Harley.
I'm a Harley.
Harley.
Okay.
Beautiful deluxe, all blinged out. She's
Nice.
sexy.
Hey.
Yep. I'll have to show you sometime. She's pretty sweet.
I'm there for
So
it.
you pulled up in your Harley.
I did.
On your Harley.
On my Harley. And was nervous to get off because obviously when I ride, I wear leather and I have tattoos. And so people might be like, who is this girl getting off a Harley decked out in leather? But I saw 2 days prior, they had a big
dumpster.
Thank you, in their driveway. And I thought,
I know the story.
yeah, I thought, that's interesting. So when we were coming home, there was a car in the driveway with the dumpster, and I'm like, I'm going to stop. Jumped off my bike, and it was the homeowner and his dad. And I just said, you're doing one of two things here. You're either remodeling or moving. And he said, well, actually, we're moving. Gave him my card, and I left it at that. And I thought, okay, I left that too opened, so I created a little packet, got me a nice little envelope, or actually it was a folder, and I left it on their porch for them. And he called me 2 days later, and he said, that's what made the difference. He said, come down and meet me, and we'll see about you listing. And so that night after I met him, he said, you got it. So that's my most.
Which was a fantastic story, and it ended in success.
Yes.
So one of the biggest things that we find that realtors really struggle with is allowing themselves to do that. So take me through how you were able to do that. What was the conversation you were having in your head at the moment before you pulled in? What made you decide to take the chance?
Are we allowed to cuss on here?
Yeah.
Yes. Chad does all the
Hell
time.
yes. I try not to say the word fuck, but every once in a while
It comes out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to behave there because,
Okay.
that word is part of my vocabulary.
I know, me too.
Yeah, I try not to make it, but
It's
That's
the
just
greatest.
me.
It's the greatest word in the English language. It's the only word in the English language you can use as a noun, verb, adjective, adverb, and there's no other words like
It
that.
works,
I know.
right? Yeah.
Anyways, I digress.
And
Go
it
ahead.
highly offends some people. And he
It
likes
does.
that too.
Well, you know what?
Well.
They're gonna get offended by it, then
All
we ain't
right.
gonna drive anyways. So go ahead.
True. Scared shitless.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember when I saw the dumpster thinking in my mind, oh, what are they doing? And then you start that role play in your head, that story. You create the story. Well, what if I go and they look at me strange, like I have a third eye or something like that? And then you start role playing in your mind. And then I'm like, okay, don't role play because then you're going to sound dumb. What if I sound stupid? You're new. You can't just go up and say something. You don't know everything about real estate. So all the things that played in my head. But for whatever reason, that day on my motorcycle, I was out of my element and something just told me, do it now. So almost kind of like when we talk about the counting backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in my head, I actually did that and I just did it. And I remember stumbling. I felt like after I walked away, or I jumped back on my bike and drove down the street, I was like, oh, you sounded stupid. You sounded really stupid. Did you really say that? How did I say it? And then you role play that whole thing back in your head. So then it was like, well, would they really want to use somebody like me? Because he did tell me it was a divorce situation, that his ex-wife had a realtor that they wanted to possibly use. And so my thing to them that I said is, wouldn't you rather have somebody who's in the middle? I don't know you. I don't know her. So, and I don't know if that's what helped get me it. Cause
That's genius.
yeah.
I mean, that's that's a great sales, but that's a great sales point when you're making that sale. But it's because that whole, we talk a lot about, you got to listen for the problem that you're solving, and that's how you close the deal. That's how you get in, is what problem are you solving for them, and that's genius.
So I'm hoping that that's what it was, because I can promise you my conversation was so at least that's how
you heard it.
that's how I heard it in my head. But yeah, so then I had an appointment with them a week later, met with both of them, and that night, within an hour, they said, we'd love for you to be our agent. And I
the
about
rest is history.
yes, and about peed my pants.
That's so funny. That's so cute.
I think we had 5 phone calls in between that story.
It was
You
exciting.
did a great job with that listing too. I mean, it sold quick, it looked good, all of those things.
Sold
so,
it above asking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you did a good job.
Thank you.
You're gonna be a rock star, which is why we chose you for Recruit of the Year last year. So everybody watching, give Dawn some round of applause. She's
Thank you.
last
Thank
year's
you.
Recruit of the Year for the office.
Which made me cry, by the way. I didn't see that coming. Made me feel good. And those moments too, just solidify that I'm in the right spot. I mean, I have to give kudos to Realty One Group, Trifecta. You guys you're just amazing.
We're just people.
But no, you're more than that. You guys really are. You generally care about what we do in this office as a team, as individuals, and it makes the difference. So anybody out there,
Come along.
come along. If you have questions, come ask.
That's right. Don't be
Thanks for
afraid to
saying that.
ask.
That's
Yes,
nice.
I do it. Yes.
But I
it's
didn't
very
just
nice.
say that just to say that. Like, I mean that from my whole being. And I think it's important to make sure that wherever you're doing this business, that you have a connection. I think it's important.
I don't disagree
And
with
that you feel supported. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Part of something.
Or not supported if that's what you want. I mean, like, but
Right.
you're to your point, make sure that you. I always say that when I'm talking to agents. A lot of times, there's hundreds and thousands of brokerages out there, and each one of them is different. They each have something different to offer. They each operate differently within the space, and you need to be where you feel comfortable and what you want to make your business successful. I think when we talked about opening our brokerage to begin with, we had that conversation a lot because we're two very different people, and what I want out of a brokerage is not what she wants out of a brokerage,
Imagine
right?
that. They're different.
I know.
I'm usually right. And
Yeah, and I'm always wrong.
I'm
But it's
staying out of
okay
that
because
one.
I'm skinny and she's less skinny.
and I'm smart and he's,
Less smart.
Less smart.
and I'm funny.
So am I, bitch.
Anyway.
Anyways, it's true. Like you need to be somewhere where you connect with the people, with the environment, with the tools that they have to offer and the support that they give. Or if you don't want any of that, there are brokerages out there that don't charge you anything and give you nothing too, which is great for some people, right? So totally agree with that. So anyways, yeah. So what else? Do you know what I learned the other day?
He always says what else, but then there's never a long enough pause for,
For us
anyone
to
else
say,
to be.
and
What, Chad? What else?
You have to preemptively because
I'm
the
over here
reason
like-
the reason that I asked that question is because I'm trying to come up with a topic already. That's me vocalizing my thought process.
Well, so try it this way. Say this
What
like-
else?
Pause, and then if nobody has anything to say,
That's what I
then you
get
can-
when I say
Crickets.
what else. It's crickets. That's why I freaking answer the question.
Crickets. There's not even a time for a cricket to chirp.
Go ahead. What you got to talk
no,
about?
I have nothing.
Let's go, Annie. What do you want to talk about? Bring it on.
you're on the spot. Go, girl. Make us proud.
I do have something that I
Dawn.
learned the other day. If you would like me to share it, just let me know.
Where's the
Crickets.
cricket button? No, I would like to go back to Dawn.
Okay,
Whatever
go.
question you were going to ask.
I wasn't going to ask a question. I just learned something the other day that I found fascinating. It's about real estate.
Oh, I thought it was something personal.
No, it's about real estate.
All right, go ahead.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Do you want to know, like, have you ever noticed that the east side of major metropolitan areas is typically, and like when I say typically, I mean like it's 98% of them, of the major metropolitan areas in this country, the lower socioeconomic area of the city, and the west side is always the higher socioeconomic area. And so like in St. Louis, it's 100% true, right? West County, that's where the higher houses are. That's where there's more old money, as you call it. And then East St. Louis is not that. And so I was always curious that I always thought that was just a St. Louis thing. But then if you go to Kansas City, it's the same way. The east side of Kansas City is the lower socioeconomic area. And so I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and I thought maybe it had something to do with redlining, which was a fair housing thing they used to do. But then this guy made the point that he thinks it's because of pollution, which I was very interested in. And I know this is really boring for most people, but it does explain it. We have the westerly winds. So in the United States, our air flows from west to east. And prior to the Industrial Revolution, that wasn't the case. It wasn't until the late 50s after the war that those areas started going downhill and everybody wanted to move west because the wind always blows from west to east, and it would blow all the pollution from the factories when all of those are being developed and the smoke and stuff to the east. So the poor people lived in the east.
Oh.
The rich people didn't want to live in the east because all of the smoke and stuff would blow into their house. I thought that was so fascinating. I don't know why I didn't know that before.
I find that fascinating. I honestly do. I really do, like separate from everything else. But what I'm finding more fascinating in this moment
Go ahead. Tell me.
is the connection. What was the squirrel that went from talking about Dawn to that?
pollution.
Like, how many voices are in there
Oh, there's several voices in there.
battling? Pick me, pick me.
There was really no connection at all. It just when I listened to it, I thought to myself, that would be fun to share on the podcast.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
there's
then
the connection.
So you're sharing.
So I'm sharing it because there was silence, and I don't like silence.
Silence is never good, especially
Well,
not on a podcast.
I don't know that that's always true.
Dawn,
but
what would you like to talk about?
yeah.
Oh,
What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now as a real estate agent?
staying extremely consistent. You got to show up. I mean, I show up every day. That's to me, that's the easy part. But then I just think staying consistent and true to what your plans are for each individual day. I put a plan in place on Monday for my week. That doesn't always come to fruition. So I think just staying committed and on task and consistent, because I do believe that consistency in this environment is key. The reach outs, the follow ups, the touches, all the things. So just staying consistent with that, I think, would be my biggest challenge.
Yeah, do you find it a challenge to be doing those things that have no payoff right now? No instant payoff?
No, because I know they will.
Okay.
So for me, in my mind, I know that if whatever I'm doing today is going to bring me some value down the road and then some and then some.
Right.
And that's the biggest key. And I think that comes from my corporate background of understanding how processes work. So this whole process of being in real estate, which I knew it would be a process, did not scare me.
Yeah, it takes time. It's not an instant. Yeah, even after you get going, there's lulls in it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there are waves of clients and stuff like that. I don't know that I could have done it, which I didn't do it. So,
As far as what do you mean?
be that patient.
I find it's good for my personality because I'm an instant gratification kind of girl. Like
Same.
I want it now. I think this environment has been really good for my own personal healing and just my mental health, even though some people might think that the opposite, like they would turn this into like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. I'm not being successful. To me, it drives me. It's like, okay, what's next? What else can I do? And I love feeling that way and thinking outside the box. What can I do now? So for me, I'm thriving in the environment. So
Awesome.
I would not. Yeah, I would not.
You would not thrive?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But that's why I know that about myself. So that's why I never tried. I just went. I took a different path, which is one of the things I love about real estate. Is there's so many different paths that you can take, and still be involved in the industry.
And that is true. Because, I mean, we have that here in the office where everybody's journey looks different, feels different.
Absolutely.
And it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. And I think that's the biggest thing, too, is learning not to compare yourself or myself. I tend to do that. You know, I look at people and go, oh, I want to be, look at them. I want to be them. But I'm not them. I'm Dawn. So how do I turn that to me and not compare myself or where I'm at with other people, their successes and things like that. So,
But you can always strive to do what they're doing.
oh,
And, you know,
Absolute-
it's not necessarily being them, but yeah. When you see that something's working or
To your level,
not
to your
working
level or
or
your style.
yeah. But that's what you get too coming into the office.
It's true.
Yeah, I've learned so much watching and listening from the other people in the office, just how they communicate on the phone, all the things. Now that when we get our phone booths, I won't be able to eavesdrop, but that's okay.
No, and one other thing that I wanted, one other thing that I wanted to ask you, because we haven't had really much talk about this on the podcast at all, is you are in our mentor program.
Yes.
So you're a mentee in it. So you have a dedicated mentor.
Yep.
Who helps you through helping you through your first 7 transactions, and then also taught you Rev Up, which is our program. It's 12 classes. That's for new agents, but it could also be for an agent that maybe stalled out, that never got started, right? Maybe he's done a deal here or there or whatever. So I'm just curious, what's your favorite part? What was your favorite part? Because you've taken all 12 classes already now.
Correct.
And then you've done 4 transactions.
Yep.
So you're more than halfway through your mentor program, right? From a program standpoint. So what was your favorite part about Rev Up specifically, those classes?
Well, for me, who loves structure, it was a starting point and an ending point and everything in between, if that makes sense. I think when there's not some systems or programs or tools in place, you tend to bounce all over the place. And this was like, here's your starting point. Here's where I want you to. And some of it was very basic, but there are things that I may not even thought about because my brain's over here when it should be over here.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of keeps you in a, do I want to say structured or kind of a systematic way to get to where you need to be. So for me, it was amazing. There was so much information, so much value to it. And I kept all my rev ups because I do refer back to some of them sometimes where I go, ooh,
yeah,
what do I do here?
Right. It's the fundamentals.
Yes.
I think is what I'm hearing you, right? Because the fundamentals are the same regardless of how much you sell and what kind of houses you're selling or real estate you're selling. That's all a decision that you have to make at the beginning, which is interesting. So I was just curious what your favorite part was.
And then how do you feel about having that mentor?
Well, I was just going
side by
to elaborate
side?
on that.
Yeah.
Yes, because not only going through the rev up, I couldn't even begin to imagine have done the transactions that I've done without somebody, doing the checks and balances or just helping me. Where do I find the forms and how do I organize? That's the biggest thing too, is just how do I want to organize this? And somebody kind of that's already been there, done that. Don't waste your time on this. Try this has been invaluable. I'm a kind of a organized, crazy freak. And that was overwhelming me because I was just like, I don't know what to do with all this. And where do I find this? And my mentor, God bless her. Thank you, Tammy. Was amazing and just keeping me grounded because I'm kind of tend to be an emotional person sometimes. And I think sometimes when you're stressing over making sure I'm doing the right thing, I mean, I'm handling somebody's hard-earned lively money that it's big. It's a big deal. And I take that very seriously. And so just guiding me through that process, it's been amazing.
Yeah. No, I think it's important. I think that that's one of the things that we got frustrated with. Now, of course, I like to figure things out. I say we, it was really more her than me. That's why she hired me. But she didn't have that when she started real estate because she started before me. But I like to figure things out. So that doesn't bother me necessarily. But it was a frustration for sure that surfaced. I think it comes up a lot. So I'm glad to know that Tammy was there for you.
Well, I think it's an amazing program. I'm not even sure how many brokerages offer something like this out there. But I mean, I think that's one tool that I think is just.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I'm sure that the majority of brokerages offer a mentor program.
You think?
Of some sort.
I'm going to put it in quotations.
Okay. Air
But I
quotations.
also know that we have agents in the office that were at other brokerages and had a mentor and are now mentors for us. And the level of programming is different. Like their mentors did not work with them side by side. They did not teach them concepts or classes. There was no structure to the mentor program. And then I've heard, some of the more structured ones are so rigid that it's come into the office 40 hours a week and call this list of people and call this list of people and do this. And if you can't do that, then you're on your own, figure it out. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah, that's scary.
you know, there's,
Yeah.
it's out there. That's one of the things that I like about our mentor program. And you can kind of jump in if you think differently, but is that it's tailorable to what the agent needs and can do. Like, it's a go at your own pace style of program. You're still going to get the same thing, but it's not Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It's not, you know, this many. It's 12 classes. They're 2 hours each. You do them as you can. You want to do one a month and be in it for 12 months? Fine. Don't care, you know, but you got to do the 12 classes and you got to do 7 deals. And that's the program. However long that takes you, it takes you. But
I definitely didn't feel pressure like to, you know, complete it or anything like that. So that is a good thing to bring up, that it is at your own pace. Now, me and my personality, it's like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get through these. Let's wrap these up. Let's sell some houses.
Is
Check
you can
the
go back
box.
to them too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I think of a couple people that we took through, and I can think of a couple in the beginning that, you know, we talk about business planning and having a business plan. That's a hard concept for some people in the beginning. But then as they start working their business and running their business, then they realize, oh, I probably should have put a little more effort in you know, and so then you can go back to that module. Or maybe you're doing all buyers and you don't do any listings. And then when that comes up, you can go back to that module. So,
Well, it's funny you bring up the business planning, because that is one of the modules that I did go back to, because the business planning that y'all had us go through, the little business summit, was phenomenal. Eye-opening. Just, I love that part of it because it put everything in perspective. I like now know to the day, how many reach outs do I need to do? How many conversations do I need to do? If I want this many transaction, here's what you got to do. You can't make it more simple.
Do you know your numbers? Because I think that would surprise a lot of people. Do you know your numbers well enough that if I start asking you them, you would be able to tell me?
I'm pretty sure I do.
Okay, how many transactions do you want to do this year?
I would like 31.
31. Okay, and in order to do those 31 transactions, how many reach outs a day do you have to do?
So it depends on, is it right?
Let's pick are your sphere marketing, your networking, with your sphere of influence.
Yep.
Is that one of them?
Yes.
Okay, how many buyers and sellers are coming from each of those in your plan?
7 and 7.
Okay, so 14 of those 25 transactions are coming from your sphere marketing, right?
Yep.
So half of them. And how many reach outs do you need to do to your buyers and how many to sellers every day in order to get to that number?
I broke mine down per week. And so per week, or maybe I did break it down till a day, because it was 3 reach outs a day per seller, per buyer, to then turn it into 1 point something conversations per day. So when you think about that, times 7 times 52, and that's just for my sphere. That's not even talking about social media and things like that. So, I mean, it's eye-opening. And when you break it down like that, because most of the time you just think, okay, I'm just going to go talk to people. Well, what does that mean?
Right.
Talk to people, and what does talk to people feel like? Like, what kind of conversations? I mean, you guys have broken it down to very specifically what kind of conversations, what will that look like, feel like. Tammy's been great with role playing with me. I'm a big role player. I like to role play. I like to kind of feel it out, and Tammy's been great with that. So that's been huge as well.
That's important. And I know you just got 2 today from your
Yes.
reach outs, 2 leads today. So
Yes.
you're really trying to get that March number in there.
Well, the March number is going to come from the one I got yesterday. And then
Okay.
today I got a conversation. They just said, call them after 4.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
he's doing it.
I think that, like, just to go back to that you are doing your business plan, that you're working it, is phenomenal, because so many agents, whether they don't believe those numbers or they think it's unrealistic or they can't get out of their own way. But, you know, we have that one habit of, you know, reaching out to those people every day, but that you're doing it and you're seeing the result it's amazing, because it's so hard. I don't know, jump in. It's so hard to get agents to see the results of that.
Well, I don't, because the results don't come right away. The difference is Dawn's perspective, I think, when she saw those numbers, because to your point, you're calling it eye-opening, and you're choosing to, that's a conscious choice you're making to lean into that. And I think that most people, when they see those numbers, go, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And so then they don't even try, because they just decide up front that it's impossible. And if they can't do those numbers, they don't want to be a real estate agent. And then you spiral like that when it's really not impossible at all. I mean, when you really sit there and think about it, if you work for 4 hours a day, you said you had to do 6 reach outs a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you work for 4 hours a day, or let's say you work for 6 hours a day, that's not even an 8-hour day. You only got to reach out to one person an hour. Like that's so simple when you say it like that.
Right.
It's the noise. It's the
It's the
talking
constant.
yourself out
Yes.
of it. Because we like the numbers. We're both number people. We both like to numbers don't lie. So everything has a statistic. Everything has facts. But when we talk about how many people that you're in communication with that know, like, and trust you, and have said that they want to buy or sell a house in the next year, that we know that statistically, even of those people, only half of them are going to close. And so when you look at a real estate agent who is selling 1 or 2 houses a year and they're struggling, and you ask how many are in that funnel and they have 4, well, you're going to close 2 a year.
Mm-hmm.
I can almost, my call sign is the gambler. I can almost lay money on it every time.
Yep.
And I know I've showed you mine. I try to keep 30 to 50 people always in that conversation, knowing that I'm only going to get half of them across the table for whatever reason.
It's true. I think that's it. And then the really, really successful agents, I think the ones that I have seen really take off, take those numbers and they take it to that next level, because the next part of that is, okay, I know I have to do 6, we call them reach out or touches, right? A day. And then the next question in the business plan, okay, for the first quarter, I need this many. So what is my strategy to do those reach outs, right? And that was at our first Success Summit meeting that we had, which is our quarterly business plan check-ins. And the successful agents figure out how to do those numbers in mass, but still make it personal, right? And so you're doing those. So then your 6 reach outs a week become a 1-hour project on Monday, and it's not a big deal.
Like
right?
before this podcast.
But if you don't know what you're going to do and you see that number, people freak out.
Right.
And that's but it is doable. It is there. Like the people around you, at least in our office, have the experience to lead you through that, and we can teach you. It's not that big of a deal. So don't let it stop you from doing that.
But
and that's what I love.
The numbers don't lie. I mean,
they don't lie. You need to know, and you need to track what you're doing too, which is where we get into the conversation about utilizing the CRM and all of that stuff. Because if you're not tracking it, and I come up to you and you're complaining because you're not doing any sales, and I say, well, how many postcards did you send out last month? Because your strategy was on your marketing or on your business plan to send out 1,000, and you go, I don't know, I didn't keep track. Okay, well, I can't help you then. I don't know what to tell you. If you don't know what you did, I can't tell you what to do different.
Right.
Well, and I know you started, one of the things we talked about is having an accountability partner.
Yes.
And I know you just
Yes.
started. I know we talked about that on another podcast. So
Yes, I saw
how's that going?
Fantastic. I'm curious to see how it will evolve, because it's new for both of us. So we've already had our first meeting, kind of put some things in place, some checks and balances, how we're going to touch base and hold each other accountable. And I think over time it'll evolve and kind of change. But I'm super excited, because I just know she will push me outside of my comfort zone. And that's what I needed. Somebody that wasn't going to give me permission to just be like, oh, that's okay. You didn't do your reach out this week. There's always next week. Nope.
Yeah, what's up?
It's like, why didn't you? What held you back? What was your obstacle? Kind of talking through the processes so that I can, because my biggest thing that I want to get past is, I'm not afraid to talk about what I do, but sometimes I hesitate to get their information in return.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a goal, and that's something that I've asked my accountability partner to hold me accountable for. How
That's
many?
crazy. That is the number one thing that people struggle with. I think I was just talking to it's actually a client of ours who happens to be in sales. She's not in real estate sales, but she was saying this morning, she was saying how she gets down on herself all the time because she has these great relationships and she's a talker and they're best friends, and even though they're not, and
Trying to figure out who you're talking
all this kind of stuff. And she goes, but I always shoot myself in the foot because I'm always afraid to ask for the referral.
Yeah.
And it's like, these people love me and they want to be my friend. And we have these great in-depth conversations and we know everything about each other, but I never ask them to send me a referral because I don't want to be that person. And it's like, she goes, the funny thing is, and this is somebody that until this morning, I've known for multiple years. And until this morning, I had no idea she was in sales. And I had no idea what she sold. And as soon as I figured it out this morning, I had like 3 people that I wanted to
intrigued.
send her.
I'm intrigued. Yes.
I know that I wanted to send her referrals. And she's like, well, and then she started talking me out of sending her referrals. And I'm going, now, come on, sister. Like, you're in sales. And she goes, I know, I just always feel guilty. Like I'm putting you out. And I'm like, girl, I get it. I want to send the referrals. I want to connect people. Like, that's, part of the thing. She sells merchandise. So, like, not merchandise. I mean, that was stupid.
I'm like, what kind of merchandise?
I know.
Yeah.
Like this.
The good
good
kind. She sells
Nerds.
promotional.
Gummies.
She
Nerd
sells
gummies.
Nerd gummies. Yes,
Clusters.
the ones
Clusters.
with the ones with the THC and
No, not those.
not those. You don't ever do that.
No.
No.
Oh,
Nerd gummies.
I see. I wish we had a lie detector sometime. She tells so many lies on this podcast. It's not even funny.
Looking for a sound effect.
Anyways, she sells like higher end their promotional products, but she has the niche of HR people. So she does like, higher end customized
Really taking you a long time to get there.
awards.
What does she sell?
Awards, like
Awards.
like when it's companies you've been there for 10 years and you get a coupon
Like
to go
things
online
that
and-
we order.
Well, it would be great for us. Yeah, that was the dumb part. I was like,
We just ordered.
we
awards.
just ordered awards, but then also no. When I say awards, I'm talking about like, knife sets and like that kind of stuff that employers give employees for years of service. Watches, whatever. I don't know.
I'll take a watch.
I know Mikey's gotten all kinds of crap because he's worked for the same company for a long time. But anyways, she sells that kind of stuff to big companies, and I had no idea. But I know some HR people. And we buy closing gifts. That's what I told her all the time. I'm like, well, those could be for our clients for closing gifts all day long. So anyways, ask. That was the moral of that entire
And I
story.
think the truth of it is most people are willing to give you referrals if you ask.
Oh,
Right.
I think most people want
Yeah,
to.
I think they do. I think
Right.
they want to see you succeed and be
Well,
successful.
and it's also people knowing what you do.
Right.
Right.
You've got to be on the realtor.
Yes, because I think I was known in a different light because I was with my company for almost 30 years, and that's what people knew me as. And so definitely got to break that mold.
You struggled with that when you first started real estate too. Everybody knew you as Annie from Excel. And that was because she owns the dance studio, and she was not Annie the realtor. She was Annie the dance studio owner. And
Right.
so it took a while to change that perception. And you still own the dance studio,
Right.
but you're not the face of the dance studio. You're the back end business side of things. So
Right.
you don't need to be known as that for that business, if that makes sense.
Right.
And it took a while to change that. So are you happier now that you clicked that button?
Can you see that it's on?
No.
Oh, because that's what I was going to say. It looks the same. Oh, I do see the difference now. I see it. I see it.
I just wasn't listening to a damn word I was saying.
I was listening, Chad.
Anyways, I know. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate it. Always there.
I'm
for
a good
me.
student.
You're always there for
What are
me.
you talking about? I listened to every word.
Repeat them.
Where would you like me to start back?
Promotional.
We have this client. I was talking
That
to her
sells
this
merchandise.
morning, and then like 1,000 of words.
I thought you were going to repeat it back. You know I'm not good at telling long stories, short stories.
Chad said,
I don't know why you're so judgmental about it. Your daughter is the same. You should be used to these kind of stories. I ain't never met nobody that tells a longer story than your daughter.
And you go,
So.
just get to the point.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know I was bad there.
They-
Like, I'm aware,
Like
but
he was making a short story long. I'm like, oh my.
go ahead, give us a final short story. Final thoughts. What are your
Final
final
thoughts.
thoughts, Annie?
Well, thank you for joining us.
It was amazing to be here. Thank you for having me.
So much great stuff coming up for 2025.
Yep. So anybody that's watching this podcast, I send out a lot of messages. So if you know me, check your inbox.
Hi.
So,
All right. Cool. Thanks for joining us, Donna. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And we will see everybody next week. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so that you know when these fantastic episodes come out. Because I know you're just dying to hear the next one. Bye.
Bye.